I want to make this evening. The first one is that love doesn't exist at all in anything that you might love. It only exists in you if you're loving. The second one that I want to make is love is way too complicated to be summarised by the word love. It needs lots of different words. And the third point is that there is a particular higher kind of love that is in some way the summary of all of these different kinds of loves, and I want to talk about that. So, before I make these 3 points, I should add, a lot of people who do this night come up and they give some kind of a disclaimer. They come up and they say, oh, I'm not really a comedian, or they come up and say, I'm not really a philosopher. I am a terrible lover. Ladies. I'm coming at this off the back of, I should say, 12 years of failed relationships, followed by a period of internet dating, which can most generously be described as ongoing. So, part of this is to do with the fact that I have never been able to find a really good kind of internet dating username. Me and my husband Adam, who some of you know, spent 6 hours in my living room last week trying to come up with a good internet dating username for me. But the trouble is all the good ones are taken, and the only combination of letters which is left are things like, for example, I'm a weirdo, or I will kill again. That was left. And then at one point our friend Kathy suggested, why don't you pick a literary character that you like, and have that as a reference. There are some of my favourite literary characters. One of them, as you can see from my t-shirt, is The Little Prince. That is not a great internet name. Another one, Raskolnikov. And he's a scruffy Russian who kills old ladies. That was taken. The one that wasn't taken, Humbert, which, for those of you who don't know, is the old man in the book Lolita, which I declined for reasons which I hope are obvious. And this is kind of related to what I want to say. And the reason for this is that, for me it's been very difficult to pick, because I don't really know what I like. There may have been a time when I used to know what I like, but I don't really know what I like anymore. And so that's kind of tricky. And this, I think, is evidence for the fact that unless you actually know what it is you want, it's very difficult to find love. And this, I think, disagrees with what Gabriel was saying. Because what Gabriel was saying is that you can love something without knowing it, without knowing what it is that you want at all. And I think maybe you can desire something mysterious, but I don't think you can truly love something unless you have some sense of what it is that you actually desire. And the reason for that is that I think love is not something which is in the loved object. A lot of people talk about, oh, this person is very lovable. I think the idea of lovability in a person or an object is bollocks. Because to be honest, a lot of people, when they say something like, oh, it's not you, it's me, we know they actually mean it's you. But I think that they mean that wrong. If you love a person or you love a thing, the love is not in that thing. The thing or the person has properties. They might be tall or clever or funny, right? But it just so happens that you love those properties. It may be that that you don't love tall people. It may be that you do love funny people. But those properties are in the object. The love is not in the object at all. And so that's the first thing I want to say. So love is the feelings that you have for a thing. It's not in the thing itself. Now, this is where we get onto my second point, which is that there's a whole bunch of different words for describing love. We have this word love, which doesn't make any sense at all. It's such a simple word for a ridiculously complex phenomenon. And the ancient Greeks, of course, had various different words for it, which is sensible, I think. The ancient Greeks had a whole bunch of words, and just to make sense of this, I've composed cards. So, for example, the ancient Greeks had the word eros, which is just a kind of love which was basically for desire. If you have some kind of a possessive desire for a thing. That's where the word erotic comes from, erotic love. It's just a wanting to possess that thing. And that, I think, is what Gabriel was talking about with wisdom. Philosophers don't have it, they want to possess it, they know a little bit about what it is, they want more of it, but it's a possessive love. I'm going to put that there. The next kind of love, which is, I think, perhaps a higher kind of love, although romantics are always on about, oh, love at first sight, I saw this person, I knew I wanted them. That's not, I don't think that's the highest kind of love. An important kind of love, I think, is another word that the Greeks had for love, which is philia. And that's just kind of like, that's like if you like something, or your phrase was, it's just a kind of a fondness for it. Now that seems banal, but actually I think it's not. I think philia, actually liking something, is perhaps more important and more valuable than wanting to possess it, and I'll come on to why later. So the word philia, of course, philosophy means, philosophia, like Gabriel was saying, means the love of wisdom, it's a liking. But actually philosophy is probably a wanting to possess wisdom. Philia is if you just like something. And actually there's the word philia has had this kind of bizarre history. I don't want to talk too much about this because the last time I talked about it on stage got me into a lot of trouble. But, for example, if you end a word in phile, it doesn't mean that you desire it, it just means that you have fondness towards it, it means you have fond feelings towards it. So this is not the only kind of love, but I think it's the highest kind of love. The other thing is this, which is, the other kind of word that the Greeks used was agape, which meant kind of selfless, compassionate love for something. You don't have any selfish interest in it. You just want to, you just want to help it have good things for its own merit. Now, one of the great moral philosophers of history, Jesus, was completely wrong about this. He went around telling people, oh, you should love people regardless of whether you like them or not. You should love them because they're there. You should love them because they're your neighbour. This is bullshit. There's no motivating factor to love someone just because they're there. You don't like them. Why help them? It makes no sense. I've always wondered why nobody said this. Look, Jesus, I don't want to help my neighbour. My neighbour's an asshole. and yet, this has been very influential. Now, what I want to say is this. If you don't have this one, if you don't have general liking, the others aren't going to be as good. And that's why this is the most important one, I think. If you just have this kind of, this idea that you should be selfless, as Jesus argued for, there's no motivating thing to actually make you do it. Apart from perhaps like, you know, the threat of hell. Right? Which is a pretty violent threat. Or, alternatively, if you have this combined with this, this is what some philosophers have said. You want to help someone really just because you want them to owe you something. Unless you want to possess that person. There could be a combination of like, we see this in charity workers sometimes. They go around helping homeless people, they're like, oh, I'll help you. Because they want to feel like someone feels like they owe them something. And that's not healthy, I think. This on its own, without this, is just possessive desire. That's where O.J. Simpson comes in, as we discussed earlier. And I mean, so basically, without this, these two are not as valuable. And I think this general feeling of just liking something, and like I was saying before, liking the properties that that thing has, are very, very important. And it's often kind of neglected, but particularly by romantics who are all about, oh, I feel this strong feeling of I want to have this person. But it's not right. And this is why I think that the highest kind of love is where you have all of these three together. Now this is incredibly rare. It happens almost never. But where you have these three, where you don't just like someone, but you want what is good for them, and you will do whatever you can do to help them because you like them so much. Ideally, also, you want them to, you don't just want to possess them, but ideally, you're going to be kind of attracted to them in that kind of an erotic way. But the eros is also like you want them to feel that for you too. You want them to feel a combination of these for you too. And if you get that, if you get two people, sometimes even more people, it doesn't have to be restricted to two people, although our tradition says it does. But if you have two people who feel all of these things for each other. They want to help each other such that they want to help themselves because that's helping the other person. If you want to do well for yourself because you know the other person loves you so much that they want you to do well for yourself, and vice versa, the other person will do well for themselves because they know that you love them so much that you want them to do well for themselves too. That is the highest kind of love that I think is available. I think the word for that is either true love, or a better word for it, I think, is friendship. That is what I think is the highest love. Thank you.
Okay. I think we should take over the inherent tragedy of Charlie specifying friendship as something that almost never happens, rare, and move on to questions. Yes, at the back.
I mean, there's an additional kind of love in the ancient Greeks called storge, and I mean, with such a name as Storge, it's always, it's a bit of a disappointment, when you're playing up, comedy that you're not mentioning storge, because it's a great one, you bring up Gran, you're like, I stored you, Gran. That's always a good funny one, but I mean, I was just going to say, as
I used to storage my gran, but then she died.
more of an exegetical thing, because all three of those are combined within the book Deus Caritas Est, or the encyclical Deus Caritas Est, more properly. They're all sort of, which means God is love, and he combines sort of eros and agape, and then says we've got a philietic element to that. And that was all. I was just wondering if you sort of engage with that at all.
Arguably, the love that God, should God exist, has for us is this kind of highest possible friendship. Because God doesn't just, supposedly, if God exists, which I'm skeptical about, but if it could be proven, I'm in. Because if God does love us, God does have this kind of wanting us to do well for our own sake. But God does also want us to love God. And God also does, obviously, has this liking towards us because, God made us. And why wouldn't God unfortunately, I haven't been persuaded of the existence of this perfect, loving being. And a good friend of mine pointed out to me once that perhaps, I miss the idea of God. I probably do. I think we probably all do, those of us who don't believe it. But yeah, the love of God, if it could be proven, yeah, I'm in. Unfortunately, I'm skeptical about it.
So I'm going to jump in with my prerogative question here. So one of your points is that love is an incredibly complicated thing, and the English does not do it justice with one word, love. Why? Oh why would we imagine that the Greeks do it justice with three? Why would there not be, surely love has far more subdivisions. The fondness you feel for your mother, and the fondness you feel for your philosophy tutor, and the fondness you feel for your sexual partner, and the fondness you feel for your cat. Are they all really the same?
Well, no, I don't think the Greeks do justice either.
Okay.
It's better than English, but it's not perfect. But no language can perfectly encapsulate any meaning, really. Language is awful.
That's a whole different evening of